What up, Sky? How you doing?
Yo, what's up, Paul?
Hey, we're ready for this episode, whatever the hell you call it. Sky picks Ronin's brains. What was that one called? Convenience?
It was
Sex.
called Convenience is Fucking Awesome When You Want to Bone Women. And we're going to talk about a bunch of really, really awesome stuff. So stay tuned.
All right, so this is like a part two of that one, and I got a bunch of stuff here. I just kind of gonna throw a bunch of ideas out. One of them is just as we were talking, as I was setting up the mic. Right, I was reading this article. Carcinogenic chemical benzene found in hundreds of U.S. personal care products. And I did an episode back in when I was in Austin. No, sorry, not in Austin. I was in Pensacola at Sean's house, and it was about chemicals in like that fuck up your testosterone and fuck your body up that are in common products. And one of the things I said is don't buy things that spray, don't buy things that have colors in them. Just go for the simple shit. Like get bars of soap, that kind of thing, right? So you don't have to be a fucking expert on everything, right? Just go for the simple stuff. And then you don't even need to know like the complicated shit. Like if you just eat healthy food, you don't need to be an expert on all these problems that people have, right? You don't need to know how to take care of diabetes if you don't have it, right? So a lot of life is just that simple stuff. And now there's science, there's research that you can read it in The Guardian today. Carcinogenic chemical benzene found in hundreds of U.S. personal products, some at levels considered life-threatening. So basically, yeah, like they're going through everything. And the funny thing is, the way that guys can think about this is most of the products are kind of girly products. So things that spray, things that are fancy, all these lotions, creams, crap. I really think that stuff is just basically crap. I've been to Chinese factories. I will tell you the stuff they put in there, you would never eat that stuff. But anything that you put on your skin just goes directly in your body. And so you're crazy to be putting crap on your skin that you don't know what it is. And it was made in India or China. I don't want to put those places down, but they have different cultures. I'll tell you that at the factories. And they're always in the countryside. They're not in Beijing. Things get messy out there. And as long as people buy them and they sell, they're happy, right? Just like any entrepreneur here. And you can't trust any company in that level. Just basically keep it simple. Eat fucking real food. Don't put shit on your body. Don't buy stuff that has colors in it, flavors, smells, aerosol. Just go for the simple shit. Soap. Bars of fucking soap. The one thing I do use that has benzene in it is sun cream. Because I think the balance of those two things is worth it, So I don't want to have skin cancer because I'm in the water a lot. So I do use sunscreen. But that's my one thing, right? So, but other than that, I try to avoid any of these bullshit, any of them. Because I just know that, that's why everybody has these mystery diseases now. It's because of the chemicals. It's because of the chemicals. But you don't have to be a fucking monk and you don't have to be gluten-free bullshit. You just have to be simple man. And you can avoid all these problems of modern life. You can just really avoid them all and just move on with your life by doing these simple things. But yeah, that came up. And then the other thing is, I wanted to say this story, but I'll let you start first. But I want to kind of give you a taste of it. So get this, dude. So listen to this. So my buddy Mark, right, who I've known this guy forever, right, fucking forever, right. The first time I met him was in Tokyo. I was running the AA hotline, so people would call and then I would answer the phone. And they'd say, "Where's a meeting?" and this and that, right. I volunteered for the hotline, so he called me and he said he's in town. He wants to go to a meeting, and then I was playing soccer on this like totally crazy unauthorized field with tree stumps everywhere, and I broke my leg, right. So then I was in on crutches. So I show up in Tokyo on crutches and to meet him, and he's like, "What the fuck, dude?" He's like, "I'm going upstairs. I'm like, there's millions of people pushing me, on trains." And he was like, we started a friendship then, and we had a great time. And he was not very good at picking up women. So I said, "Hey man, I'll teach you how to pick up women," right? So, he was always kind of like, just seemed totally clueless with women. So I told him how to do it. And then he had this hot girlfriend And then later on, we're jogging, right? We're out jogging, you know, and we used to work out a lot. And he goes, and I see these girls, right? This big pack of girls walk by us or walk. They're like laughing and stuff, and I'm like, dude, those chicks are so fucking hot. And then he goes, dude, there's more than girls in this world. And I go, and I was like, yeah, right. And I was kind of like, you know, this is like my good friend, right? A guy I hang out with all the time. I sleep at his house all the time. For the weekend, I'd go hang out with him.
And sleep in his bed all the time?
No. No. But he goes, you know, it was a very, you know, Japan, small places, right? I just go there and sleep on the floor, you know, kind of like we do at summits, you know. And, you know, I'd hang out at his house, and he was a good friend, right? And so then yeah, there's like money and getting in shape and business and stuff. And he goes, there's more than that. And I go, Mark, you didn't suck someone's dick, did you? That's what I said. And he starts laughing. He goes, well, I might have.
Oh my gosh.
It was just a funny situation, like when your good friend comes out of the closet. But anyway, the thing that was really funny about it is, well, we're still good friends today, right? But the funny part is that he still, to this day, this is like almost 30 years ago, he still tells people that I'm like the best pickup teacher ever, because I actually taught a gay guy how to get hot chicks. And he had no skills at all. Like, the guy was not gifted. And he didn't even want girls. And I still taught him how to do it.
That's crazy, because, like, usually I want to say that, like, gays have a better understanding of, like, how to get girls. Like, girls are always like, oh my god, that guy was perfect, of course he's gay, right?
Oh yeah, no,
like, gays will understand.
Yeah, Mark was not like that kind of guy. He really was not. You know, he told me one time he really thinks that girls are smelly. Like, he doesn't like the smell of women. You know, and that was pretty shocking to me, because I thought, you know, when you think of a smell like bread baking, right? Or you think of, you know, something that you like, smell of coffee or a rose, you know, you kind of think that everybody would react in the same way to that, right? But when I thought about it, it was really heavy when I realized he doesn't like the smell of a pussy, basically, right? He doesn't like that smell. And I just still blows me away, you know, because to me, I love it, you know. I love all the smells of girls, you know, and just always have, you know. And, you know, like, girls don't have to douche for me. Like, I don't mind. I like the smell of girls. And once girls that I date, they realize I really like the way they are naturally, you know, they really relax around me. Because a lot of guys are pretty sensitive with smells. A lot of guys, they like demand the girls to keep themselves this and that. I don't mind if they do that. And I like girls who keep themselves clean and do this and that. Just like I use good body hygiene and everything, but at the same time, the basic thing is that girls can relax around me totally, because I like the way they are. Like, I like the smell. I like the way their hair smells. I like the way everything. I like their bodies. You know what I mean? So, but when he didn't like that was shocking. But anyway, he calls me this week, right? And he tells me what I totally forgot is what I taught him about women. And one of the things that you'll like this story for sure. So he had this girl, and he said, what do I do if he doesn't want to have sex, right? And so I said, well, what you do is you basically, if she doesn't, you know, you got her in your house and you're making a move and she's not going for it. And I say this today, even to anybody here, like, no matter what the reason is, she could tell you that she has a boyfriend. She could tell you that she's not in the mood. She could tell you that she's on her period. It doesn't matter what she tells you. If it's kind of a first time with a girl and she's in your house, anything she tells you, you can't trust. It's just like she can't trust what you say, because you might say, oh, I love you so much, baby, or something like that, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad guy, but that's what guys do when they're trying to seduce a woman. They say stuff, right? And women know, they're like, oh, this guy, he's trying to get in my pants, right? You know what I mean? And girls, their job is to kind of protect themselves from, you know, opening themselves up to large numbers of men that will lower their value, right? So women are just kind of, it's built in them to have defense mechanisms, right? So whatever a woman says, I don't take it personally and I don't take it seriously. At the same time as I know that, something has to be done, right? So what I told him was basically, if she says anything, she doesn't want to have sex for this reason. Because again, the perspective is she's alone with you after a date in your house, right? You've taken her home. And so that changes things a lot too, right? Because if a woman really doesn't want to have sex, she won't come to your room, right? You know what I mean? Like none of these rules are perfect, but basically she won't want to be in a situation where there's going to be a lot of pressure for intimacy, right? She's going to make it clear. Like I've had girls tell me, hey, look, I'm on my period today. Let's not go back to your place, And, I have a different strategy for that actually. But for this one, what I told him was just basically just be very friendly and then just get her out of your house as soon as possible. And so he did. And so then I told him that she would come back, right? Because he was being very friendly. He's like, oh, I just realized I got to work, got stuff to do, And then she knocks on the door like 2 minutes later. And then she says, well, he said, are you really on your period? She said, no, I'm not. But I just told you that because I can't remember exactly what she said to him, but something like, I didn't want to blah, blah, blah. I didn't want you to take advantage. And then he said what I told him next. He said, well, baby, if you would, you got to really put this one on hard. Is like, if you would ever even think that, that I would do that, we should never meet ever again. Like, we should never. Like,
right.
That,
yeah.
Like, there's no reason
Perfect line.
to ever meet again. If you would ever think that, because for us, that would be wrong. It wouldn't be good for us, And then the girl's like, she's like apologizing. She's like ripping her clothes off and fucks my friend who's gay and he had never seduced a beautiful woman. And this is a beautiful woman. She really was. I met her. She was hot. This chick was fucking hot. And, and then he always tells his friends, his gay friends, that he knows this guy who's like the best teacher of pickup. And he always tells them the story of how he seduced this woman because he just followed my blueprint, basically, of getting over those objections, And the key thing for guys to understand is a lot of guys would hear that. Here's what guys say, Sky. You know this, right? Guys will say, well, look, I don't want to play games, right? I don't want to play games. But they're not being honest because they're not playing games. They're doing the mating game. There's a seduction game. There's the mating game. And a lot of guys, they're not good at it. And so they're afraid of it. And so they say they don't want to do it, but the truth is they're afraid of it because they're not good at it. And they're afraid they're going to fail.
So true.
If they knew they could play it well and that the girl would totally go for it and screw their brains out and love them, they would be totally fine with it. But the reason why it's a game to them is because it doesn't work. Once you get really good at something, it's kind of like if a child is afraid, right? You can't explain the boogeyman to them, right? You have to make them feel safe again, right? And you have to think of a way that will make them feel safe so that they feel comfortable again, right? And then later, when they're not all afraid, they can be logical about it, right? So is that a game? Helping a child to be not afraid of the dark. It's kind of a game because you're not like an adult. You would say, "What are you talking about?" Like, you know what I mean? You would be totally different, right? But with a child, you just you act differently. And when it comes to the mating game, and again, this is just a seduction game. This is not women. When you're dealing with a woman in the office, you don't act this way. But when you're trying to seduce a woman, you need to understand the dynamics of the mating game and let her have her objections, right? I never push a woman. I'm not that type. I'm not the type.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So this is really good. And I just wanted to add, because like your perspective on this, I just love how anytime somebody has they're asking some question about a situation with a woman. I mean, like, just like me the other day, I'm like, oh man, I have this situation. Like, what do you do? And you're just like, oh, like, oh yeah, I've only been in that situation 27 times or 2,700 times. Like, here, let me tell you exactly how that works. That's great.
Do you want to talk about your situation? Because that was pretty cool, I thought.
Well, maybe later.
I thought that was pretty good. I mean, pretty beneficial.
Yeah, we can. But I'll remember that. Like, I might not remember what I want to say though. So let me finish. So with this, what you're saying about this whole thing with pickup, I love the child analogy so much, and the fact that guys don't understand how to play the game and they're not honest with themselves, about what they're doing, because they basically want value from the woman, right? They want to fuck her, but they have to provide value to her, right? Which is, women are not going to want the guy that's beneath them, right? And they have this whole language of communicating, which is like, it's like sales, it's like they have these objections and you have to pass them or you have to shrug them off. And if you can't do that, then you're basically, not good enough for her, right?
You just have to have a certain set of skills. Like, one of the skills is seducing her. So you're standing next to a woman and you're afraid of putting it around her. And then the next moment, you guys are, really, she's like moaning and you're deep into sex. Right? It's getting from that place to that place, right? That's a key skill you need. And then you need some skills for emergencies. Like you talked about your emergency, right? That was a real emergency, right? That type of thing, you need to know how to handle a situation like that. And then, let's see what else you need. You need to be able to handle birthdays and holidays and stuff like that, and be a man and be, doing your thing, not falling into the trap. And you have to keep your frame as a man, so you don't fall into the feminine role of a romantic guy, So even though we also feel romantic, guys do, we watch love stories and they affect us too, right? But the key thing is when you're with a woman, you can't fall into that feminine frame, right? So it's like keeping your masculine frame and letting her keep her feminine frame, right? But there's not that many things you need to know, really. I think the main thing a guy needs to know is how to take a woman who, doesn't want to touch him, doesn't want to kiss him, into, passionate, for lack of a better word, loving sex where you're really going for it, and she's really into it. It's like getting from there to there. That skill is extremely valuable for guys.
And that skill, like the at least the element of it that you were teaching your friend Mark, right?
Yeah.
Was this idea of, because guys are, like what you were saying is guys are afraid, right? And what are guys afraid of? Well, they're afraid of sort of, getting rejected, but the thing is that women are a step ahead. They're programmed to be a step ahead. So a guy is like, okay, well, I don't want her to leave, basically. So I'm going to be like, please stay, essentially, or some similar way of saying that, communicating like, oh, stay with me and hopefully we'll have sex. Whereas what you're saying is be like, well, listen, you can stay if you can stay or leave, and if you think anything is off, like, please leave. And that way you're basically giving them two options, and you don't really care which option they take, right? That connects to the whole like convenient women, like you don't really care too much, right? And even encouraging them to not stay once they've sort of made this commitment. And then they always, it's like that you give them two jumps two hoops to jump through, right? And they always will jump through the one that you want, as long as you set it up that way, right? You just have to give them the opportunity, the optionality of it.
I think the thing is like most guys, if you could picture the way most guys are, 'cause it's hard to picture the way other guys are when they're alone with a woman, right? You have to kind of like get used to watching how other guys handle women. This is one of the things I did, and that really helped me to see how to do the opposite, basically.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what I do. Because, see, most guys, what they do is they kind of like, for lack of a better word, they kind of trap the woman, essentially. And they will get her in the room, and then they kind of close the door, right? And then they might like kind of sit, subconsciously towards the door, like blocking the door. They might put their arm around them and kind of hold them. And I don't mean that guys, I mean women put up with this. This kind of basically, if a woman really wants to be with you for whatever reason, these are small things. I'm not talking about really trapping them. I'm just talking about the subconscious messages they're giving, right? Because they're afraid of losing her, right? And they want to keep her, right? I think the attitude that you have to be successful is the exact opposite. Is like you're totally comfortable on your own. You're totally like you are absolutely happy just doing your thing. And if they stay or don't stay, it's like the door is totally open in my house, right? The door is absolutely open at all times.
Because that signifies high value, right? Like everything, like guys are thinking, well, what is the verbal, what am I communicating verbally? But really, like you have to take that to the next level, the way that sort of echoes emotionally in the female mind. And what that usually is like, yeah, if you're giving that optionality, like you can stay or go, it's like, I have something as a man that I'm looking for. And if you're not that, then I really don't want you. Right. Which only a high value guy is going to do. Because if you're a fucking loser, then it's going to be like, this is a woman. I have a chance with a woman, like no matter what she is, like I want to try and hold her in, keep her, lock her in the bedroom and make sure that I'm able to
Well, that's the same reason why guys get married. The same reason why guys get married is to trap her, to own her, right? It's the same dynamic. They're owning the woman, right? She is their woman, right? And guys will even say, like a lot of guys in MGTOW will say, it's not yours, she's not yours, it's just your turn. And that's kind of a dynamic of that she's yours type of thing. I think that mindset is not good. So the other thing I think is you're reading into like high value and low value. I think it's better to just think of the most simple things, like a bar of soap, right? When you think of a bar of soap, you don't have to even think about all these hundreds of other products, right? You get the concept of the most simple base element of what you want to get done, right? And anything else that's really complicated is easy to spot because you look at the simple thing again, right? I think the same thing with these moves in seduction. Don't complicate it by like what's high value, what's low value. Just be a guy who, when she brings up an objection, instead of like trying to talk her out of it, you're like, oh, okay, right? Oh, okay, yeah, all right, okay, cool, all right, and then you're just like gone, like, and then women, they are extremely surprised by this when they're with me. I can tell you that. It doesn't have to go very far because most guys are so sticky and they're so trappy, that the woman is used to it. They're basically used to it. Most guys are just really, really, once they have her in their room, their little hostage, they're like kind of thinking of ways to kind of like keep her, trap her. And a lot of it's subconscious. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it's just subconscious. So I think.
Well, yeah. Like basically, just like you said, like a lot of it's subconscious. Like that's why it's like hard for guys, because for women it's conscious, right? They actually perceive this shit consciously.
Oh.
But for guys it's subconscious, so it's harder to control.
Well, it's super easy for women. It's like, have you ever been to I got invited one time to this scam. It was this guy in China, and it was kind of like an Amway type thing. It was like a high pressure sales thing, and they actually locked the doors with chains once we were in there. Like,
holy shit.
Yeah, they actually put chains on the doors from the inside. Because my Chinese was getting pretty good, and I wanted to hear somebody do a talk like kind of a Tony Robbins type talk. I wanted to hear how that would sound because I'd heard a lot of news and this and that. And we got invited to this thing. So I went and they chained the door. And I had noticed before they chained the door that there was a lot of pressure, sales pressure on us. They were always looking us in the eye. They were doing all these things that were putting pressure on me. And all I was doing was registering all the pressure they were putting on me. So I think one of the ways that, you could think about it is whenever you go to a store, those stores where they got commission salesmen and they're putting pressure on you.
Uh-huh.
They're not just letting you feel that pressure. That's the pressure you're putting on girls. It's the same thing. It's like an attempt to control them and get them to do something. And you know what they're trying to get you to do. So you got to think about it. Like, does that motivate you to buy? For me, it motivates me to leave, right? Like, I try to avoid stores like that. If I have to go, I'll go. But I really like the stores where there is no pressure. And even down to the granular level, like let's say you're going to a 7-Eleven. 7-Elevens, I think one of the reasons why they succeeded, Southland Corporation, is because they don't put any pressure on you to buy anything. You can walk in there, you can look at the magazines, you can walk around the store, and you can walk out. And there's no pressure at all. Whereas when you go to a family store, small, like family-owned store, and you move around the magazines and then you walk around and you don't buy anything, they look at you disapprovingly. They stand near the door. They don't want you to come back. Like, they don't like you there if you're not going to buy now, right? But the thing is here's the thing, is which company succeeded in the long run? It was the one that didn't put any pressure on people. So that's the big advantage of like stores like, big stores like Walmart and 7-Eleven is they don't put any pressure on you. And
so let me ask you a clarifying question here.
Sure.
Because this whole, this is sort of tip number one from Mark, or at least one of the important tips is like, don't put pressure and even encourage them to sort of leave the situation. But how does that differ when you're like in phase, let's say an earlier phase of like pickup, let's say when you're at the public place or the bar or what have you, or the grocery store or wherever you're meeting the person versus when they're inside your house? Because it changes, right?
It changes,
or
yeah.
does it?
Yeah, in the house, when you're talking about seduction, so you're talking about taking off their clothes, taking off your clothes, and getting intimate, right? That point there, you want to put no pressure at all. In fact, if she puts up resistance, you want to kind of take it seriously. Like, oh, wow, yeah. Like, see, most guys, they'll immediately start to tear it apart or argue with her. Like, do you really have to go? Like, you can't do that later, like, what about, you said that they could do it any time and now you have, and then whereas me, I'll be like, oh, you have to go to this meeting? Oh, that's very important. So where is it? Oh, great. We better get you out of here and, get you on the road and see you later. And then the girl's outside going, wait, I didn't really want to leave. I just was doing my thing, kind of like putting up. And then she's like, wait, this guy, like, wow, like he's like letting go. And it often happens way before they go outside the door even. They notice it right away that you're not putting pressure on them. You're just taking it seriously, whatever thing they're saying. You're like, oh yeah, you have this. Oh, okay, well, yeah, okay. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I mean, it's not that important. And they'll start talking themselves out of it, right? Because in the end of the day, they're walking in your room because they're open to getting intimate with somebody. They just want to make sure they don't get intimate with the wrong person, right? So
right.
As they're going, they're kind of like sussing things out. So I've had girls where they said, oh, I can't do it because this. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then her name was Nana. This girl was really, really hot, super fucking hot. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she walked to the door and she like looked at me waiting for me to trap her at the door. And I was standing there like, see you later. Okay. And then she like she didn't know what to do. Like I could tell she just didn't know what to do. So she like collapsed on the ground. Like her head actually bounced off the tatami mat. And then,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, she like collapsed on the ground. She goes, well, I guess we could just do one kiss, you know. And then I just fucked her brains out. And she was one of the best fucks ever, that girl. And and it was like she almost panicked because she really did actually was very turned on by me, but she had put up resistance. And like I think, you know, girls sometimes they regret when they put up resistance because it's kind of a, you know, it's, you know, sometimes they don't have to play that game, you know what I mean, but they do it anyway.
Do you need to actually, like, your idea is like, so let's say you're lying down with this girl and, you know, you're kissing her and then you put your hand between her legs or something and then she's like, oh, like, I don't know, like, I think I'd better go. And then you're like, what you're saying is kind of like, be like, oh yeah, like, okay, great, like, let's get you out of here then.
Oh, no, you have to be very careful with that. That's yeah, the details are important, right?
That's like the nuclear option, right? Because I was thinking like,
yeah,
you know, usually like, I mean, what I have done is just like, oh, like, well, yeah, like, you're free to go if you want, like, the door's right there.
No. Okay, it depends on the type of objection. Okay, if she's making like a nuclear objection, then you come across with that right away. But you do it in a way that's super subtle. You like, in other words, you take it. You got to be like, you have to be like your Emmy award winning, whatever it is, the best actor of the year. Where you got to be like, take it totally seriously. Like, oh wow, you got to make that call. Well, geez, we got to get you out of here. You know, because you sense that she's really saying no, right? Whereas when she's just kind of like brushing you off, and she's not saying no, then you don't do it. Then all you do is what you do is, so for example, you're trying to put your hand between her legs. That's a pretty, and you're facing her, right? You know, that's a pretty serious move. If you try to put your hand between her legs when she's facing away from you, so let's say you're both looking out the window and you've got your arms around her, and then you touch her friend, it's much less likely that she will put up a defense if you're touching her, you know, her legs when you're looking the other way, right? If you look directly at her, that's the most pressure for her. So a lot of times you just have to position yourself in a way that takes the pressure off of her so that she can just relax and enjoy what's going on. A lot of it is just inability to seduce. You have to kind of know how much you're facing her and how much you're not, how much pressure you're putting on her just by your presence. I mean, a man in a bedroom is a powerful presence for a woman. So you have to understand that. And you have to lay it down, and then you have to turn down the heat, you know. And then also you have to understand, there's one thing I discovered that blew my mind, and still to this day I don't understand it, but it's really important for guys to know, is you could have a woman who you're trying to seduce, and let's just say you do all the right moves and you're not putting pressure. And then she's like, no. And believe it or not, the reason is because she doesn't want to have sex in the bed. So she could have sex in the garage or in the kitchen or in the living room or in the hallway.
That is golden.
Oh yeah. She's totally open to it in another room because her mind often connects the bedroom with her ex-boyfriend, or she's easy, or she's going to have certain connotations in her mind about the bedroom. So what I'll do is if I'm making the right moves and I can sense good things are going on, but she's kind of saying no in one place, I'll be like, oh, okay, and we'll get up, and then we'll go over, and then she'll be cooking. Like for example, she'll be making something, some tea or whatever, and then I'll kind of come behind her slowly and just sense what it's like to stand behind her at the stove, right? And often I found that girls are very comfortable if you come behind them in the stove. You're kind of like you're kind of, your mouth is near their neck kind of thing. You know what I mean? You're kind of breathing on their neck a little bit, and you're kind of slowly coming in, and it's very sensual for a woman because it's just kind of like soft. You know, it's not hard, it's not pushing, it's not abrupt. You know, it's just soft and it's warm and it's from behind, and so it's kind of like they're not looking at you, and they have this excuse of they're making something, they're doing something, right? And then so then you can get it started there. And then if a woman has said no in a bedroom, let's say, I will start to seduce her, let's say over in the kitchen, and then I'll finish the job in the living room, because unless she pulls me in the bedroom, because I don't want to take the chance, if it's the first time, that bedroom thing will be pretty strong for her, right? You know what I mean? That'll bring her back to that objection. So I'll seduce her in the living room or in the hallway, and then once you get to the point where it's really on, right? You know what I mean? It's like super on. Then I think at some point it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like I guess the thing is, once she's really turned on, when you're really turned on, like someone could hit you in the face with a 2x4, wouldn't hurt, because you're so turned on.
Uh-huh.
Girls are the same way. So once she's turned on to that level, then her sensitivity to the location won't be there as much. Very little will be there. In fact, she might even like totally change on that. Like, you know what I mean? Like she might, like 1 minute she might be thinking about her ex, and then no, I shouldn't do it because we just broke up, or I'm still thinking about it. And then the next minute when you get her super turned on, she might want to do it in the bedroom, because she might be like, fuck this old memory. It's holding me back. This guy is, you know what I mean? They might fuck me in the bed. You know what I mean? She might totally change on that. You know what I mean? Just rail me in the bed now, So you have to kind of be aware that these things shift and change. And the way you look at her, the way you're facing her, what room you're in, one of the things that you can do is just, what I always did is seduce women the first time in the morning. And that's always a very successful strategy for me. Because, what's that?
No, I'm agreeing. Like it's happened multiple times where like the night before, like she like puts on your shirt and is like getting comfy for bed, and you're like, wait a minute, like, and then she like, next thing you know, she's like asleep, and you're like, okay, and then in the morning she's like on top of you.
Oh yeah, I won't do that. I won't. If they won't have sex, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna leave. Yeah, I won't do that. I won't. I wouldn't say I never in my entire life did it. There's a couple times I can remember, but generally I'm gonna be very.
No, when they're at your place, like
no, but they won't be at my place if they're saying no. They're gonna be out of my place, and it's gonna be smooth, and they won't know why. It won't be like this angry thing where I'm throwing them out. It'll just be like I will maneuver it so that they're not there. Because I don't want to wait till morning for them to say, yeah, I'm not into it. Like, it's like, no, I just want to go to sleep. You know what I mean? So I won't take that risk. There was one girl that I did, but she was naked and I was fingering her and she was like shaking all over the place. And I kind of decided to leave her in my room. And then sure enough, about 3 a.m, because she didn't want to do it without a condom. And so I said, sure, we won't do it then, because I don't have a condom, And then I just kept touching her all night. She couldn't sleep, and she was like shaking all over the place. And I was like, yeah, no. And she'd like come close to me. I'm like, no, no condom, we shouldn't do it, And then finally she like just grabbed me and just attacked me, And it was like awesome. It was really awesome, actually. It was really fucking powerful that time. She was a very physical person, but that situation, I was okay with it. But yeah, I think, no, I'm actually willing to let it go. Like I'm not, there's no real secrets with me. I'm not waiting for her to change. I mean, if she doesn't want to change, that's fine. I got to do my stuff, and women, if you do it smooth, this is what people are not going to get. They're not going to understand how smooth I am at getting out of my place. They don't know why I'm getting them to leave. I'm just kind of getting them out, and they just kind of realize that they're out now, and I didn't pressure them at all.
But right, because I figure out why.
Yeah, I got them out like very smooth. And then they're just standing outside like, wow, that was a great date. We had a great time. And then I kind of said this and like, now I'm outside. now, now
Yeah.
I'm kind of outside,
But
right? And I kind of want to be inside, right? So they might knock on your door, or the next time they won't put up that resistance. They will definitely make it clear, So yeah, I won't let them stay. Yeah, no, because that's a form of pressure because you're just kind of waiting. No, I got things to do. I'll just get busy. I got stuff going on. I need to focus my mind for the next day. And no
yeah,
resentment though. That's the thing though. That's the key thing. I have no resentment towards the girls when they say no at all. I'm not. There's nothing in me. Yeah, I think you have to practice as a guy because you kind of feel like you've been tricked, right? You know what I
I
mean?
think it's possible until you fucked enough girls. Really.
You think it's impossible, right? Right, right.
I think it's impossible to not have the resentment because you cannot if you put yourself I'm putting myself in my own shoes let's say when I was in my early days of college when I was still very inexperienced and yeah, if that you do want it and you're also I wasn't really mature back then, so you do have it. The only way I think to get past that resentment is to have the experience.
Well. Also, you. The other thing that really helps is I have a plan B. So it's like my plan B. So for example, as soon as I sense that she's kind of saying no for real, because it's very unclear. And I think this is very unfair to men. Is girls they'll say, well, the girl said no, but as everybody guy knows that a lot of the times your wife or girlfriend or girls you slept with, they said no many times and then they didn't mean no, right? It's women are not exactly straightforward about this stuff, and neither are guys, right? It's a very difficult. Let's just face it; it's a difficult scenario to navigate, and you want to do the best job you can, right? So, oh shit, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Say again what you just said. Say.
Shoot.
I was gonna just go into something. Ah, fuck! It was a good idea too.
It was
Okay.
about resistance, and then when she doesn't there's a customary token resistance of saying no multiple times, but then they don't actually mean it, and it's unfair to men.
Yeah, but it was before that. It was fuck. Oh well. We'll think. We'll think. But yeah, I think I don't put pressure on girls. And and that's part of the way that I've had threesomes with two girls. Is I'm just very light. I'll be sitting between them, and I'll just slowly put my arm around both of them, right? And then I'll just kind of inch up to touching the bottom of their boobs, one of their boobs, and then I'll kind of inch up to the other one, and then the other one will look at the other one, and then I'll kind of look at the other one in this, kind of like when I'm putting on my when I'm seducing somebody, I put on there's a certain kind of way I become, and I kind of I lean towards one of them, and I kind of I think of it as turning up the volume switch of my sensuality or whatever. I just turn it up a bit, and I look at one of them, and then she knows whoa, this guy's coming on to me, and while he's touching the bottom of my boob, right? And so then often she will kiss me, right? And so then I'll have my arm around the other one too at the same time, like I'm in the middle. And then I will kiss her. And then I'll look at the other one. And then I'll kind of move my finger up a little more on her boob. And then I won't turn to kiss her, but I'll turn around and I'll start to give her this kind of sensual, look. And then I'll pull back. And then I'll wait for her to kind of come in, because often then she'll come into me, because she'll realize what's going on, and then she'll come in, and then I'll kind of refuse to kiss her and play around a little bit, right? You know what I mean? And then she'll be like, "Cut the crap!" She'll start kissing me, right? And then the other one, and then the other one, and then they'll realize that I'm being playful, at the same time I'm being sensual, and then if I do that, let's say I seduce two girls at once. Then I can always have sex with those two girls together anytime from then on. I mean, not anytime. Sometimes these things always end at some point. But if you seduce a girl alone and then you try to seduce her with another girl next time, it's quite difficult to make that shift. You should do it on the first date. somehow get the two girls in your house, and then,
So yeah, first time for both of them together.
yeah, but often it doesn't go all the way. Sometimes what I'll do is like one of them will blow me, and then I'll be making out with the other one. Sometimes that's all there is that first night. But that's
That's
hot.
pretty good though.
That's hot as fuck, dude. I mean, I literally, I always have very good control of my body, but that's the one time when I lose it. I fucking lose it. I totally lose it. When I have two girls for the first time, and one of them is like sensually blowing me and looking up at me with her eyes, and the other one's like kissing me and her hair's in my face. I can smell her hair on my nose. I fucking lose it, man. I fucking, oh yeah, I fucking totally lose it. I'm just like, oh my God, and then I make fun of myself, and the girls understand. They understand. It's like, because it's this moment in time. It's just extremely sensual, right? And you're looking at both these girls, and they understand. It's like, yeah, it's fine. They don't take it seriously, It's like, and then you can fuck them together, and you can do dates together and stuff later, So it doesn't have to go all the way, to have two girls. Just you're sexual, like openly sexual. And even if the one girl just watches the other girl blow you and kisses you, you got a special relationship with that one anyway. So I always take the beggars can't be choosers kind of route. As a man, you can't really be that choosy, and you don't really know which direction it's going to go. As long as it's hot and sensual, like I'm down, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to go to this or that. It doesn't. And I think that's another form of pressure that guys do, is they're always pressuring for something that they want to do exactly. And I think it's better, you get more juice if you don't do that. If you kind of just let it roll as it goes, and explore other ways of being intimate with girls. And you end up getting like everything you want. I mean, you end up getting it's a blockbuster what you get. You know what I mean?
I can see that. It's interesting. I think it's just because, I mean, I don't know, it could be wrong, but I think it's because, like, if you want something, like, girls, basically, they fucking know. Like, you really can't hide too much unless you're really skilled. And even then, like, they'll know. So, like, and if they know exactly what you want, then it's not as hot for them, I think. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually research that was done that, like, women find men more attractive if they're not sure if they like them. Maybe it was even you who shared that, or like, I mean, this research has been going around for a while, but I wrote down a couple notes and I wanted to say two things to finish off the whole, like, resistance thing. Actually, three. So this is just an example, not of like the girl getting resistance, but I was on this date, but like I had to meet like a client for lunch at, like, let's say noon, right? And I was like, went back to her place after, I think we went paddleboarding or something, and then we went back to her place. And she, we were on the couch and sort of like, I mean, she wasn't like making any resistance, but it was, she wasn't like super hot either, right? Like super, super into it. But we were like hooking up lightly, and then I was like, okay, like I gotta go to this meeting. And then she was like begging me. She was like, wait, just 5 more minutes.
That's a good place to be. Yeah.
It's the same concept, really. But the other thing I was thinking is, like, it's actually interesting because I think you and I have a similarity in this way, which is, like, you have the ability to, like, think, like, imagine these scenarios, or remember these scenarios that you were in, and then, like, sort of have them in your mind and then play out and sort of think about one specific thing that happened and then, like, go over it. And I think, maybe it's worth, like, you could ask this question in the comments, if guys would be interested, because I think I would be. And I know we had talked about this when we were on that road trip together. Basically just taking a scenario, whether it be a real scenario that actually happened, like you're remembering it, or like an imagined one where, like, I'm pretending to, like, let's say, like I'm acting as the female or whatever, or you are, and just sort of going from beginning to end through like some scenarios of like basically what is happening objectively, and then like what the guy is thinking, like what the girl is thinking, and like what the best thing to do as the guy would be.
You know who was really good at that? There was a guy, actually, there was a pickup artist, and his name, I can't remember his name now, but he ran a company called Pickup 101. And he would have, he had his girls who would be on stage, and then he would go up and do, you know, say things to them and make moves to them. And what was his name? Lance Mason. That's his name, Lance Mason. And he would go up and he would do things, and the girls would just react normally. And you would think it's impossible to do. It wouldn't work with a guy. It wouldn't work. You couldn't reenact it. You need a girl. So what you would need is like a playful girl who understood what she was doing. And then her main job is just to be honest about the feelings that the guy gives her. Because as a guy, you would think, okay, let's say she's on stage, right? And you're going to practice an opening line. As a guy, you would think that she would have to fake it. Like it would be acting for her. You know what I mean? Like the guy goes up and says something and then she's acting. But you would be wrong. Actually, if you go up to a girl, even if she knows she's on stage and she knows she's explaining for people and she knows there's video, and you say something the right way, she will act like a woman. She will react just like a woman would in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's what he did. He would go through these scenarios, and then he would show you what not to do and then what to do. And he was just very confident, and he was so confident that he would go in and do it poorly and turn all the girls off. And then he was comfortable with himself. And I always felt a lot of affinity for Lance Mason. I always felt like we were very similar guys. I always felt like he was the one guy, pickup artist, that I was like, wow, I really wanted. In fact, I still would like to meet him because I just feel like we have a lot in common, you know. And it's like he would just, you know, like when you intentionally turn a girl off, it's not easy to do, actually. If you're good with girls, you really hate that feeling. You don't want to do it, right? But he was not afraid of it. He would just go in and do it wrong, face them too much, put too much pressure, and the girls they'd say, well, I just didn't feel, you know, anything with you this time. I just, you know, it made me kind of feel creepy, you know. And then he'd say, well, what was that like? You know, and he would get into it, and they would explain it, and then he would like alter it. And because he was so skilled, he was able to show her a bunch of scenarios. And the thing, I think what worked was he was so highly skilled in personal relations that the girls wanted to be involved because they learned about themselves. So they actually were surprised by his explanations and the variety of ways he tuned things and perfected his mark. And they were like, wow, you're right. This is better, actually, when you do that. And he would the whole thing. He would walk up to them, like his body movements, his voice, his feet, his hands, the space between them, the level of his voice. He varied everything depending on what he was teaching at the time. And I got all his videos, and I watched them all, and they were long, and they were like 20 hours, you know, like series. And I thought they were extremely valuable. And it's the only one I've ever seen. The other guys, what they did was they would always go in, what the other pickup groups like RSD, what they did is they did something. They did what was it called?
Infield.
What's that?
Infield.
Oh, infield. Yeah, infield. And they would go in with the secret cameras. I knew those guys since before they did infield, but then they started doing infield, and that was their big breakthrough, is that they would go up to girls. But I don't think it was as valuable as Lance's, because I just felt like the nuances that Lance hit and the way he explained it and the way he did it wrong, you don't learn that much when someone does something perfectly. So if you watch a guy, let's say you're trying to learn to surf, and you see a guy surf a 100-foot wave, right? You know, like I was hanging out with Peter Mel when I was in Santa Cruz, right? And he got the wave of the year last year, right? And he surfed this massive wave. He's like 52, super fucking great guy actually. This guy is fucking gold. No shit, this guy's a great guy. But I don't think a guy will learn that much from watching that video of him wave of the year, because it's too good. Like, it's too perfect. Like, he's doing a million things you would never know, and so you can't
appreciate the things he does well unless you see people doing it wrong.
Basically. And the things he learned, the things he thought, you just can't, there's no way you could just put it together as a new surfer. It's like, oh, that's how I surf. I get wave of the year on 100 foot. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen. So I think that it is very important to go through the nuances. The RSD way was good too. I mean, I think I appreciate the RSD a lot because they tried. Like, think about RSD, they were pretty sincere actually. Those guys were fucking trying to prove things. They were trying to show things. You got to contrast what was before that. Before that was fake guys with like 8 prostitutes pretending like they picked them up. You know what I mean? It was like total bullshit, guys.
That's fucking crazy, but it makes total sense.
Oh yeah, they're just lying.
Fucking hilarious.
They were just lying their fucking ass off, right? They're just like, I picked up these 8 girls, and like the girls are fake boobs, and they're totally obviously like, it was just all totally fake. The thing about RSD is at least they tried. They were trying to. They were very sincere. They were trying to unlock the secrets of this whole seduction game, and I think that they contributed a huge portion of understanding. They did a lot of good stuff. But the thing that I found by far of all the pickup stuff, like I just thought that Lance Mason, I thought he nailed it. And funny thing is, he was never appreciated. He was in San Francisco actually. He was never really. No one really. I don't know what it was.
I think I know, if I could interject. I mean, again, this is just a guess, but it's that a lot of people are just responding to a certain archetypal thing that they don't know what the truth is or what it isn't. They don't know how to discern that. They're just looking for the cues of what other people are responding to. Kind of like MGTOW channels and you. Like, there's so many garbage channels, and then your channel has a lot of hidden gold, and even not so hidden gold, right? And you're not like hitting millions of subscribers, right? And I think it's that concept. Like, only certain people are going to respond to the actual, only some people are able to appreciate what's actually really good.
Right. And also too, I was just thinking as you said that, thank you, by the way. But Lance, he, one of the things that other companies did was they were focused on success. So, for example, if they did an infield that was successful and they took the girl home to the hotel, they would film it all the way. They'd film it all the way to the hotel room door where they're making out. They had like a guy following them, like with another camera, and they focused on success, kind of like focused on 100-foot wave. And it was real. It was real. I knew those guys. I know those guys actually, but I don't think that's enough for me. I want to know. I want to know what works, what doesn't work, what he's thinking, what's going through his mind. And then I want to learn. In other words, I was already successful when I was young. I fucked tons of girls. But I didn't know what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong sometimes. I knew that some things had worked with certain girls and certain... seduction is complicated, okay? It is so complicated. Like, the whole game is so complicated. And that's why women, they really trust a guy who understands it, because the ability to understand seduction and to do it smoothly, it's really a high-level skill. It's a personal... It shows that you have a lot of people skills, actually. In real life, it does. It really does. And Lance really was a peak of that. He could just tear it apart, and he didn't attach himself to the successes, and he didn't put himself down for the failures. He always was looking for the truth about what dynamics were going on and what could be done. You know what I mean? But I didn't just end on this in the sense of Lance, but the girls, you could tell they all liked him. You know what I mean? Even though they were working for him and getting paid to be on video, like you could tell they all liked him. Like the girls all liked him because they trusted him. He was a man that could be trusted in any situation. Never to freak out. Never to be the jack in the box who gets all butthurt all of a sudden and gets all resentful or tries to trap them. I think one of the things that is really overlooked in any kind of seduction talk is that a man who has high level people skills and doesn't have a fragile ego, yet is in touch with his sensual side and is able to connect, with women, is such a it's such a powerful thing that once women experience it, they always are connected to you. Like it's not like over when you seduce them. They know that you're different. You know what I mean? The girls, like, I have a lot of girls in my past that you can't connect with every person. I'm not saying that, you are a certain way and then every girl will connect with you because you're that way. You do have to pick and choose the type of girls, and you have to find the one that does connect. But that being said, it's still basically true. The girls will see you as a trustworthy guy. I think that most guys don't realize how untrustworthy they come across in bed and in seduction and in a relationship. A lot of guys, they think they can just cover it up, and they even most guys, they present stories to their friends that are dishonest, that are not presented honestly, like their own faults and stuff. Like I think that the ability to make fun of yourself and to face your weaknesses is super important. Like it just came to my mind, but is driving, right? When I make a mistake driving, right? If I make a mistake, I don't like it when people point it out. You know what I mean? I don't like it, And so I will tell girls that kind of I'll make fun of myself, but I'll also let them know that I don't like it. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that what a lot of guys will do, they'll be sensitive about something, right? Those will be sensitive. And that will be so embarrassing to them that they can't talk about it. Whereas for me, I'll make fun of it. I'll say, like, I don't like it when people criticize my driving while I'm driving, right? You know what I mean? Like, it makes me nervous, and then I make mistakes. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yes.
So I don't like it. So a girl who's very bad with guys, because girls can be bad with guys, just like guys can be bad with girls, and they will just start tearing you down because you made a mistake driving, right? The smart woman, and I say this to the females listening, like, is just like we have moves that we do that are smooth, that make a woman comfortable and trust you, is to really discipline yourself not to go into those areas that kind of humiliate the guy and dismantle his masculinity, because there's no value in that. There's no value in dismantling a guy's masculinity. There isn't. There isn't. But we are all fragile beings. Everybody can be destroyed. Okay? Period. And there is no value in that. And in the same sense that a lot of guys, when a woman, like, say, lies or whatever, or let's say cheats, they will just use that as an excuse. And you'll see videos, you'll even see MGTOW videos praising this, how the guy gets like the worst revenge ever. Like, he'll like have a video and play it at her wedding and she's cheating, and like he'll just use the fact that she cheated as a kind of excuse or as an impetus to absolutely humiliate her and get the worst revenge on her, that totally destroys a lot of things about herself as a female, right? I think you need to understand that people are weak, right? And you are weak, right? And to not want to go there. Like, I don't want to, at some level, women are, I said this before, but they really are flowers. And a flower is it sprouts out of the ground, and then it has a season where it really blooms and it's beautiful. And then it starts to dry up and get old. And some flowers are still beautiful when they're dry, right? Dry flowers can be beautiful and they can have a nice smell, but in general, then the flower dies and, the cycle goes. But a lot of guys will just go and humiliate a woman for her aging, for example. Now, I'm not saying you have to put up with, if there's two women, they're 10 years apart, and people will say, well, what's the difference? There is a difference to men. And that's, as a partner, there's a big difference, right? And you as a man have every right to choose whatever is more attractive to you, right? But you don't, I say, have a right to humiliate and try to dismantle people. You know what I mean? So that meanness in humans, you really have to let it go.
But it's interesting talking about all of this, because I'm thinking, like, this is one reason why guys are so afraid, because women will do this with the hard shit tests to guys.
Right. And I don't think, okay, I want to say they're not shit tests. Their shit tests are before you really seduce her. Then later, there are other tests of your commitment, masculinity, and everything. But I like to put shit tests just before seduction, because that's really what the original, it's a PUA term, shit test. And it was mainly when you were trying to seduce her. Later in relationships, she will challenge you and she will test you. But I want to separate that from a different type of test. But I think letting go and realizing that you can be mean, I never want to rattle a woman to the point where, like she is disturbed. You know what I mean? Like you think you can't do it, but you can. If you really understand women, you can really make them feel, I mean, you have the capacity, you have the ability to really unseat their self-confidence. And I think as a man, you have to know that. Women will never admit this. And I don't want to prove it and go do it, but I will tell you right now, I know exactly what will basically make a woman just doubt herself and be in very bad situations. I've seen this and I remember it. I'm like, oh my God, that is, we don't think of women as that weak because they're pretty tough, women are. But you have to know there's a limit. Put everything in perspective, you know what I mean? Like, she's not hurting you, right? You know what I mean? Like, be careful of your own reactions, because sometimes if she does something, you got to be King Midas at all times. And not, or King Solomon. You got to be able to put it in perspective. And sometimes you might be quite upset, and it's good to get alone and talk to a friend who really knows what's going on so that you can put this in perspective and set your immediate emotions aside, and just kind of say, wait a second. And sometimes you'll realize that what she's doing is even worse than I'm saying, right? And then at that level, there might be a point where you actually, you might have there are things that a woman can do or a man can do to a woman that require retribution. You know what I mean? There's things like that, but that's not what we're talking about here. But there's a whole scale of things, right? You know what I mean? If someone tries to poison you or hurt you, you have to realize you got to be ready for the full scheme of things in life. But men have to know that they can be hurt emotionally and they can react emotionally in the process of seduction, right? So the work on yourself is the knowledge that it's all about, it's not branding you or something. You can learn no matter where you are. You could be the worst guy in the world at seduction, but you can improve your skills. You know what I mean? You don't have to be afraid of it. You can improve your skills, and that will matter in your life. You will have more sex with more types of women. Maybe you will never be another person, but you can definitely improve where you're at, and women's willingness to want to to mate with you, right? You know, don't be afraid of improving, and don't be dishonest with yourself, because if you look back, I'll tell you this, if you go back in your history and look at all the times that you tried to seduce a woman and it didn't work, you probably had some pretty embarrassing reactions in your life. And I think part of getting good with women or good with people is facing that and saying, man, I was a real bitch that time. You know what I mean? Like, you might have been 16 or 15 or something. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about, you might not have been yesterday, but just being honest that you're capable of having your feelings hurt and lashing out and being, not being nice. You know what I mean? Not being cool. And sometimes, you realize later that she wasn't even trying to hurt you. You know what I mean? It was just your reaction, because, I'll just, this section end on this, is when you're trying to seduce somebody, or when you're in a relationship and when you're close to a woman, it is the most unique situation in your life. Like, us as friends will never get to that situation. So we never have to worry about that. But when you're with a woman who you are close to, this is why divorce court is so contentious, is because you get so close to somebody that they can really hurt you, right? And your emotions get really strong. And you have to understand that this is the one scenario. It's not really women in general. It's the human connection at that level is so fucking fraught with raw emotions. And you have to know that, and understand that. Because that's why the same woman, everybody else might think she's very nice and easy to deal with. Whereas you might have very strong emotions because you were in that type of connection with her, right? And other people are not. So they're just like, dude, she's totally cool. You know what I mean? So, and also you have to understand yourself when you get in that situation that it's, of course you got to give yourself a break too. You know what I mean? Like, don't be hard on yourself, but I'm just saying, be honest with yourself about the times that you broke these rules, and allow her to make mistakes too. But the smoother you get with this, it will pay off in your life. It'll really pay off. Because even if it's just like, women will just be more comfortable with you. I can be in a group of women, like on let's say fundraising for some charity or something, and then the women will just be very comfortable with me. You know what I mean? And want to work with me. And it's because of the skills that I got from the experiences I got here that work out there, So it's not just in seduction that you're learning. You're learning deep concepts.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing about this, is that seduction is reflective of, I think, from a man's perspective, it's reflective of all these skills that serve you in other areas of life.
True.
But anyway,
true.
So going back to earlier, you were talking about the things you taught Mark, and we went over basically not putting pressure at length. What other, at a very high level, what were the other things you told Mark in regards to winning the seduction game?
Well, the things I didn't say, but I was exemplified in when you let her go, is that you're not butthurt. That's the thing. The whole idea of shit test is that guys are butthurt. That's why they call it a shit test, right? I don't really like to call it a shit test because it doesn't bother me.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
It bothers people. That's why they call it a shit test, but...
Because basically, sorry to interject, but it's kind of like, basically the concept is that they're seeing to what extent they can control your emotions. And if they can control them and influence you, especially to influence you to, not do much, and all of a sudden you're sent into a downward spiral of negative emotions, like being butthurt or resentful or whatever, they know right away, this guy's a fucking loser. Or at least from their perspective, basically.
Yeah. I don't know about the reading into it, but I know that that you don't want to, as a guy. The Lance Mason way was that he was not taking it personally. He was looking for what he did, and he was looking honestly at it, and he was looking in ways that he could improve it. But he wasn't attaching a lot of ego to it. He wasn't getting crushed. He was just like, oh, I didn't do it right. What did I do wrong? You know what I mean? Like, what was it what was the thing? Because sometimes you can get frustrated because you're like, damn it, why? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? You know, like this worked. And that's one of the things too, is that if you seduce a lot of women, you'll realize that doesn't work with each woman. You have to have you got to have a bag of tricks, because different skills don't work with certain girls. Certain girls just don't respond to certain things. And you have to be able to, if you really want to seduce a lot of women, which I don't even know if people do, but if you do, you have to understand that there's different scenarios, and you have to say, oop, this is not going to work with this one. You know what I mean? And you got to go into a totally other mode, you know, and try a totally different thing to move forward. But say your question again. I kind of.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering about sort of the high level, like, I mean, there's
what are the things I taught him?
You go ahead.
The other things I taught him, right? The other things I taught Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I taught him by being myself. You know, I was always available to hang out with him at certain times. So even though I was dating, like, let's say at the time, I would be dating at least 5 women at once. When I made an appointment with him, I was always on time. So I would say, hey, I'm going to come over this weekend, or do you want to hang out this weekend? He'd be like, sure. I never canceled because I had a new woman. So I taught him by showing him. Women never ran my life. I always was in control of my life and my schedule. And so if I made an appointment, I would just go to it. And I would be on time. And I would just tell the girls or whatever, I'll be gone for the weekend, going out to meet my buddy in Yamanashi. And then they would say, well, I wanted to take you here and we had this. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd love to do that, another time, but I'm going out to meet my friend, And so I think by, my life was not, here's one of the things I taught him just by being myself. My life was not chaotic, even though I had all these women. And I think this is the big secret of a lot of guys who are with a lot of women, is that their life is extremely chaotic. And they're always not available for their friend and canceling things. And I don't think that's a good place to be as a man. I think you have to find a way. I mean, we go through phases, right? First, you learn to seduce, then you get a lot, then you get a woman, then you learn how to, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Let's say you're trying to date. You don't want to be married or serious about one, so you're just kind of dating from you. And then you realize, wait a second, my life is totally chaotic. And then you're like, wait, I don't want to live like this. What else can I do? So a lot of guys will think, well, the only thing I can do is stop dating all these women. But that's not true. You can have total control of your life and your time and your emotions while you're dating several women. And so you don't have to go to clubs. I never picked up girls in bars. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't take them, you know what I mean? I didn't stay up late. There's that song, stay up all night to get lucky. I didn't stay up all night to get lucky. I never stayed up all night to get lucky. My life was very almost conservative in a way. I ran. At the time, I was doing a lot of running. I would run probably 5-6 days a week. I went to the gym. I had jobs, sometimes a lot of work, different jobs because it went on for many years. But I always had jobs, and I was on time for those. I did a good job with those. I had succeeded in those. And I slept at night, and I would go to sleep early, relatively early. I don't like to stay up late. I used to do that. Actually, when I was young, I really did. But I changed over a period of time, and I certainly don't want to stay up. I never stayed up late for women. I never, like if a girl said, I'm coming over at 2, I mean, I guess if she was going to come over at 2, I'd just say, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. So when you come, just quietly like slink into bed, and then we'll, and then she'll be like, oh, okay. And then often there's girls are so good at it. You'll come in and you wake up and they'll be right there. You'll be like, holy shit, she really did come in quiet, right? So my life was not chaotic, and I was not destroying my health. I was saving money. I was sleeping at night. I was working out, and I was succeeding, and I had a lot of friends at the same time as I dated many, many women. So I think I taught Mark that you don't have to be, I wasn't some cheesy guy peacocking. You know what I mean? Like I always had my hair short. I always shaved. I usually wore like a collared shirt, I didn't dress like a playboy or whatever you call that. I didn't play the bad boy role. I didn't, I was in good shape and I lifted weights, but I didn't wear like muscle shirts, or I didn't have like a dragon on my fucking backpack. I was just looked pretty, if you ever look at the store, Uniqlo, the Japanese store, I looked like close to what I was dressing, somebody would dress from Uniqlo, and just good, clean clothes, matching. And I looked like somebody out of Men's Health or something, So not a bodybuilding magazine, but Men's Health, right? So I was able to maintain emotional stability, a life of consistency, health and sleep, friendships. I explored things. I would take girls with me. So, it gets tough, right? So what I would always do is I'd always have one kind of favorite girl, right? So then she's the one that I would take on the weekends. So the other girls I'd meet once a week, right? And then my favorite girl, I would take her for the weekends. Or if I had like a really high value chick who was just new in and she was really hot and she was like ready to raring to go, I'd take her on a weekend because that would be an exciting weekend, fun weekend. But I kind of rewarded them. And then on the weekends, I would kind of just do what I usually do, except I would have a woman with me. So we would go to the beach. We would camp on the beach. Eventually, I had a beach house, but for a long time, we just camped on the beach. We would go just kind of exploring together, kind of like what I do at summits, walking around. We'd see like a abandoned factory. I'd get her all fired up to sneak in there, climb over a fence, and I would be looking for like an underwater cave or something. So I'd be like going down there, and the girl they would realize that I'm like this type of guy, like I'm doing stuff, right? So they would get excited about it, and they would do it with me. So they'd get, next time they come, they'd have like a snorkel mask, and, they'd be ready for the type of adventures I would be doing, right? And so I just kind of, and then as I was on all those adventures, I was always kind of like, it's funny because I was always Ronin man, like ever since I was, basically, I would say at least since 1989. So I was always trying to figure out concepts. I wasn't making videos yet, but I would be trying to figure out the truth about life and really understand it, right? So when I was on these weekends with them, I would be talking about things, like what if it was maybe brainstorming a stock or a company and, like talking about the specifics of this motor versus that and technologies. And the girls they just kind of went along with me. A lot of guys, they'll say, oh, women don't want to talk about heavy things. And women, most men don't understand that women become, when they say chameleon, right? Women fit themselves to a man's life if they think he's a good guy, right? They just naturally do. And it's a pleasurable thing for women, actually, to kind of be his sidekick, part of his life,
Yeah.
to join in his life. So I would be clear about what I was doing. And the girls, sometimes they would come on the first weekend with me and they would wear high heels, right? And then I took this one girl, she had high heels, and I took her mountain climbing. And I said, you can wait down here. And she said, no, I want to go with you. And she fucking climbed a mountain with me and with high heels on. And she ate shit a couple times really hard. I saw her knee hit rocks, and she kept going. She had like a mini skirt and high heels, and she fucking climbed that mountain with me. And that girl was a good girl. And then, of course, the next time she was all wearing sports shoes, right? But I just kind of am myself, and I do my thing. I don't try to make them do stuff. So, for example, the pressure thing. So I was with this girl. We were camping out in Tama, which is kind of technically in Tokyo, but it's like a really cool place to go. There's a river there, and they'll let you camp along the river for free. And it's a really cool place to camp. And you can take a train there. It's awesome. So I'd go to Tama, and I was with her for the weekend. And then she was like all excited about eating at this one place. And it was noodles. And I said, I really don't want to eat noodles. And so she was kind of used to Japanese guys. They would pressure her to eat what they want, or they would give in and eat what she wants, right? And then they didn't, I knew she didn't respect that, but I didn't really care either way. I was just going to do what I was going to do. So I said, look, I'm going to go and eat a hamburger, because I had like hamburger with rice and it was a big meal. I was hungry. And then why don't you get the noodles, and then I'll get my hamburger, and then we'll meet afterwards. And she's like, no, we should go together. And I was like, no, really, go eat your noodles, have your break, enjoy yourself. And then it was just like, they were almost next door to each other, the two restaurants. And I said, look, you go in there and I'll go in here. And when you're done, come on over. Or when I'm done, I'll come on over. And what it was funny was, afterwards I talked to her about it. And she was with me like for 3 days, right? All the time, very sticky, right? And then at first she didn't understand why. She was kind of like, why doesn't he eat noodles? He can eat noodles. And or I could eat it, his hamburger rice thing. And I was just like, no, just, you really want to just go eat your noodles. And then she told me that as she was sitting there, she really started to miss me. And so she ate the noodles fast to run over and come over and hug me, right? It was because I wasn't pressuring her and I wasn't giving in. At the same time, I was just being myself. And I gave her a break from me, right? And that break, made her really want to be with me again. And so the weekend went really good after that. Even though it was like the last day or so. That really fired her up. And she realized what a great time she was having, right? She told me afterwards. She said she started thinking about all the things we were doing and how fun it was. And she's like, why am I sitting here eating these stupid noodles? even though she was happy she was eating the noodles. That's the thing. She was happy. She was like, I'm glad I got these noodles. I really wanted to eat noodles. And so I think the concept of not pressuring and not giving in, it goes all the way to the top. It's not just seduction. It's like, I'm not here to pressure people. And the same with the summits, or anytime I get together with people, I'm doing my thing. I don't know if you could feel this when we're driving around, but I'm doing my thing and I allow other people to do their things at the same time. As long as we can fit it in, you know what I mean? We can both, you can do your thing and I can do mine. If you want to eat this, we have the time. As long as we can fit it in, usually you can, right? That we don't have to be identical just because we're together, right? I think a lot of people, they think they have to. And I think it's very important to allow the other person to be themselves. And I think as a man, this is the whole concept of staying on your purpose, right? It's not my purpose to eat, rice and hamburgers, but when I'm hungry at the time of my age, I needed something heavy or I was going to be shaky and hungry. Because we're out in the middle of nowhere. There was no more food. I was going to eat this one meal and I had to be full to go climb this mountain, right? That was important for me. I couldn't just eat noodles. There was no protein, So your purpose is not necessarily something deep. It's more like your path, your true north or whatever it is for that moment, is that you keep on that path, and then you be yourself with everybody, so that people don't have to change to be with you. People that are like you will be like you. They'll want to be with you, right? And I do this with the summits too. Like, I totally do this. Like, people see who I am in my videos, right? The way I eat, the way I move around, the way I think about things. So when I go to a town, like I remember when we went to, was it North Carolina? Or was it South Carolina? Columbia, wherever that is. When I went there, and then Tyler was there, and he's like totally knew the kinds of things I would want to do already. And he said, "Oh, as soon as it got to this time, it was like magic. It was like perfect." He's like, "Hey, let's go over to the river." I'm like, I got to where I trusted everything he said, because he knew what I wanted to do, or what would be good in his town to do, what would be good to eat. And he also was like me. We wanted to both do the same thing, but he didn't need to explain it that much. He just said, "Oh, let's go." And I'd go, and then we get on this river, and it's absolutely beautiful. The sun is just perfectly golden off the river. We're walking along. It's nature. It wasn't too far. It wasn't too short. It was just perfect, right? And so by being myself on the videos and in person with girls, it allows them to suss out if they want to be with you, because taking the pressure off them always also allows them to leave if they don't fit with you, right?
Yeah, I think, to interject here, what you just said, I mean, just the word lead, the whole time I was thinking about leadership, and how, and also how you were teaching Mark by just being yourself, right? So, and people learn a lot from that. Like, I learned a lot from you about, like, your process, like in the grocery store, or just like in various different things. But just by like doing what you're going to do, and actually doing something and just doing it, you're kind of like, you are a leader. Actually, it's weird. You might not understand, but like, a lot of people don't do that. They're not actually going to do anything. So you're just doing, and then people who are interested in like learning from that are going to want to be around you, and then maybe you learn from them too, or whatever. And I think for women, that is like, it's that, like, they can grow, like they want to connect in a way where they're learning from you or something, or they're, being led is sort of the cliche, like you have to lead a woman or whatever, but that's exactly sort of what you're doing. But instead of like commanding, like, you have to do this, the leadership play is to not worry about anything besides doing what you're going to do, and then give them the optionality to join if they want, is what I'm getting out of this. Which
I think one of the big, that's a very interesting point. I think one of the big misunderstandings people have about leadership, because even when I was a little kid, people always said I was a leader. Like church groups, ministers, teachers, neighbors, everybody would take me aside. I remember my aunt and uncle, they were very religious, and they were super serious people. And they took me aside one time, and they said, they took me like in the corner of the house, away from everybody else. They said, "Paul, you are a leader, and you need to understand that. Like, all the kids in the neighborhood follow you, and they do what you do. So you have a lot of responsibility, because if you lead them onto doing bad things, they will follow you. And so you need to understand that you are a leader." And I was a little kid. And I remember at first I thought they told my brother that, they told my sister that. I thought that's just what they tell kids, you know what I mean? But I realize now they were almost begging with me. They're like, "You really need to act good, because if you don't, you're going to lead people the wrong way." And so maybe I am a leader, but I think that, some people are not, right? I don't think leadership is a good thing or a bad thing, because it's not like an alpha thing or not alpha. It's not like that. I'm a good follower when I want to learn something. And when I want to learn something, I want to study every aspect of the thing the guy's doing, right? I'm learning that thing, right? And I think you have to have things to offer people to be a leader, right? You have to have things that you're doing that they want to learn, right? They don't follow you because you're a leader. No, you're doing things. They're like, fuck, I want to learn that. That's a valuable perspective or whatever way to do things. And so people are trying to get something from the leader, right? They're trying to learn a skill. Like I would watch Lance Mason very carefully because he was very good at articulating stuff that I hadn't really thought about. You know what I mean? So I really value his explanations, right? So I think when it comes to leadership, when I joined this, it was the guys I was living with in Santa Cruz. They were part of this men's group, and what was interesting for me was I went to meetings and I joined their group and I was around with them a lot, and I really was shocked because I don't think that most men understand what leadership is, because they would say, like, this is a common thing for guys to say. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between what I do and what the traditional men's groups do, is that most men think that you can lead a group, right? I don't think so. I think that what you do is you find the right people, and you are like a team doing something. I can't lead somebody who is not interested in things. You know what I mean? They're gonna be there to do the things that I'm doing, or to learn the things, or to, you know what I mean, to deepen knowledge of something.
This is all so valid. I almost feel like, shoot, this should be the start of a new episode, because this itself is like straight gold.
This is it. You have to find that, and this is the thing, is you be yourself, okay, with the girls. Okay, I am myself with the girls. At the same time as I understand seduction, okay, so those two things. But I am very much myself with the girls. And so I don't have anything to hide. I'm not putting on a front. I don't get tired of the girls being around because I'm being myself. And also my life is under control. Right? And so that some girls will not like me, right? But that's okay with me. I understand they don't match. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a match, right? I understand that. And but I also know that there's a lot of girls who connect with me on such a level that we're like basically connected for life, you know? And it has a lot to do with me, it has a lot to do with them, right? So it's finding the right people. So that's why I go out of my way to be honest on Ronin, man. Like, you know, I cried about my daughter for like 15 minutes, right? You know, and I helped the cat, right? I did things that I would do on my own, but other content creators will never do that because they're terrified of showing weakness or an insecurity or something. And it's an indication of the way they live their lives, right? So the reason why a lot of guys are tired being around people all the time is because they're not themselves, right? So I think that by having that comfort with yourself and by constantly learning and being a valuable person to be around, and also by not trying to change people, and because you're being honest with people, you're attracting people that are interested in that instead of a bunch of fake friends, which is what most people have, right? And that's why people don't like social media, because all the people on there are not on a vibe with them, right? So, of course, they hate social media. They think it's really fake and phony because the people on their social media have been attracted by the false persona they put out there, right?
Right.
So it's just a sign. It's the same with the content creators. They're not worse than anybody else. It's just that it's on a larger scale because they're talking to more people on the internet, right? So I think the buck starts, the stops at how you express yourself in your life and the way that you are honest with stuff. And then it goes on through seduction and all the way up to leadership, because you can't be everything to everybody. You have a limited, you know what I mean? Like some girls don't like me for sure. There's some girls who don't connect at all, and guys, guys that wouldn't understand me at all. And that's totally natural and normal, and you have to, don't spend your life trying to make those people change, because they are doing their thing, right? So have the guts to be yourself, And I was like, I practiced with things, like I remember I bought a pair of red pants once, like tight red pants, and I work out, right? So the tight shirt, red pants, I mean, I don't know if it looked good or not, but it was an experiment. They were on sale or whatever. I think I was in high school or college, and then I realized like that's not me. I'm not comfortable with that, right? You know what I mean? So even though some looks might be attractive to other people, my entire life is not mercenary trying to get things. Like my real self is here. You know what I mean? Like I want to, of course I want to seduce women. I want to succeed at work. I want to have friends, but also I have certain things that are just, I've kind of tried different things and I know who I am, right? And that's something that is very important, I think. And that goes to everything. Like, I think that's why guys are so afraid of being called gay or whatever, because they don't really know themselves at a deep level. But if you really know yourself and the complexity of who you are, you're going to be comfortable with things, because you just will be like, how you respond to different situations. And you'll be able to say with authority. Now, of course, you can change. I mean, times you do change over time. You might get more conservative, or you might play different sports, or whatever. You might change your viewpoint on. You might not like Asian women, or you like white. It doesn't. You're going to change different things. But when you know yourself and you're comfortable with yourself, I don't know what else you need, really. I mean, this is the main thing. Like, if you have to be comfortable with yourself. And that's the thing about seduction, is you're down at that level where people are shaking that foundation for you, right? So
potentially shaking the foundation.
Oh, well, they're shaking it all the time. Even if you're very comfortable who you are, you're always like being challenged at that level. Your raw emotions and your dreams and hopes and all these things, your weaknesses, everything comes up at that level. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable too, right? You're vulnerable, and I don't know what better example, but was I had a situation where I was dating a bunch of women, and there was one, and I don't know what it was about her, but for some reason, it was weird. I can just talk about the specifics of her. She had a super small box. She had a tiny little box. I swear to God, I measured, it was like 1.25 inches. And she had like almost no natural hair. And she had like just a puff of soft hair. And she had big boobs, like naturally big boobs. And she was erotic. Like she would come, like her whole body she was very feminine, very high voice. And she would just come, and she was just so, she couldn't read a map. She was just so feminine. She just was naturally this way, completely. She was just like so feminine. It was hilarious. Like, she was 22 years old. And I was dating her at the same time I was dating a lot of other women. And I kind of over time felt her presence. And she was just a very supportive female, completely female, this one. And that's the most dangerous, by the way. And she was like naturally open to things. She wanted to be, dominated. She was just very feminine, right? And then she told me, she said, look, I want to, get married, so I have to, if we're going to get married, we can keep dating. If not, I have to go find a guy to get married. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get married, so you should find another guy. But then when she was like, she was kind of like, okay. And then she left and she found another guy. And it was kind of hard because I kind of like, it came kind of abruptly for me. She was so fucking, she had no natural smell to her box either. Almost,
Wow.
it smelled like perfume. I swear to God, I fucking kid you not, you guys. There are different kinds of women.
No, I believe you, because it happened to me one time, and I was like, "Holy fuck!"
She would walk to my house, which was a long walk from the station, and I knew she had been at work. She hadn't taken a shower on let's say a winter night, and I had this big down blanket and stuff, and she'd come in, and then I would be like, I remember I was tired one night. We didn't have sex. We just kind of laid down in bed, and then in the morning I woke up and I went down to eat her out as she was waking up. And I just kind of snuck in there, by her toes, And then I was under the blanket, right? And she had walked to my house and it was like morning. She hadn't showered. She hadn't showered at night. And I knew she hadn't showered since the morning before. And I was like, oh my God, this woman is just naturally fragrant. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, it was the best smell. It was unbelievable. And I was like, I can't believe it. There's no way she could have faked this. This is her smell. And she always smelled great, but I just, you always got to be careful. Maybe she's very good at hygiene, right? And so she had these things that just fascinated me. And then also she had a very strong orgasms, like body orgasms that couldn't be faked. So anyway, so she kind of got me at some level and she was just so feminine. Sometimes you'd be sitting there doing yoga in my room and I would just look at her. I thought, wow, I have not had a woman this naturally feminine for a long time, like maybe ever. She might have been the most, she might have been. She might have been the most feminine girl I was ever with, like naturally feminine girl on that side of the scale, right? So when she left so abruptly, she grew up poor, so when she decided she was going to get married, she was going to marry me if I was going to do it, but I was like, no. So she's like, okay, my mom told me I got to find another guy. And so she went. And man, it tore me up. And I was all torn up. And I was like, I never went back to her. But I was just like completely wrecked for like 2 weeks. So what I did was I told my other girlfriend, like I was crying all the time, right? And so she came over. And then my house was a mess. And she was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just had to tell her the truth. I just told her, she knew I had other girls. I had not talked about it directly before with her. And usually I don't like to do it because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, Even though they know, I don't want to rub it in their face. But this time I couldn't stop. She asked me and I said, I just keep thinking about this. I told her name and she knew who she was, And I said, I just feel so sad. And she looked at me totally blown away. Because here I was crying my eyes out, right? Over another girl. And I looked at her face and she didn't know how to feel. But I noticed that after a while, she looked at me and she was just like blown away that a man could have such deep feelings for a woman. And she had a real awe and respect for the depth of emotion I had. Because I literally cried through a down blanket. The whole blanket is it's like 8 inches thick, right? I cried that blanket into like a wet ball of like soppy, basically fucking towel, right? And so she just decided she was going to get me through this. So for like 2 weeks, she stayed with me, and other girls would call. She said, "Well, he's crying. He's upset about this other girl." So don't come over. I'm taking care of him. And all the girls got to be friendly with each other, actually, during this period. All the girls I was dating. It was quite funny. And it all happened naturally. It never happened again, but nobody was angry because they knew how serious I am as a person. Like, my emotions are strong. Like, I'm a real person. Like, I'm not putting on something for the girls. Like, I like them too. You know what I mean? I definitely I had feelings for them, but something about the way we broke up, it just tore me up. I couldn't deal with it. It was so hard to deal with. But of course, I never gave in. I never called her. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't do the things that would be weak, but I still had to deal with my emotions, right? And I think the other girl, fell in love with me by just watching me. I think, I could never know for sure, but I think she wanted me to feel that way about her that I felt about the other girl. And she was very hopeful that someday I would fall in love with her the same way. And, I never did. I never felt that same way about the other girl. Although the other girl was practical and I appreciated her as a person the way she was. But I can't just have that feeling over anybody. That was just a very rare experience I had. And very convulsing almost. I was almost convulsing, It was like I was crying not just for her or for us. I was crying for the whole world or something. You know what I mean? Like I was just letting out some kind of deep angst or emotion,
Yeah, it was a full emotional release.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, and it lasted 2 weeks. I mean, I wasn't crying the whole 2 weeks, but I mean, it was going on. That whole thing was going on for 2 weeks. And in many different ways. And it was good too, because I got over her. I got over that. And I learned that sometimes you just have to deal with your own complicated emotions, right? You know what I mean? Like life, sometimes it can be hard, You have to know that you don't know what's going to happen. That's important to know, is you're going to come across scenarios that you don't even understand and there's no one else you can talk to. Because I don't know my friends had been through breakups, but I don't know if anybody ever had what I had. And maybe I was crying for all the girls that I had not, because I was dating a lot of women until then. And like, I had found some gems of girls, and I had blown them off so I could keep dating multiple people and not settle down. And I think, there was part of me that wanted to settle down with a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of emotion I had.
Completely.
Yeah, it was not simple.
You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just saying, yeah, I definitely had that feeling, It's like if you have 1,000 lives and one of them, you definitely stay with almost all of them that are good.
Yeah, they're always with you.
There really is always one who is the number one, though. You know what I mean? Like in your heart of hearts, who you can really feel safe with.
No, but what was really weird about this one was she wasn't. I mean, maybe she was. I don't know, but she became more the one after she was gone.
Interesting.
Yeah, she clicked something in my subconscious or something, And like I say, like I did not cave in, and because I knew what I was going through was a grieving process. I knew enough about women that I knew that if I went back to her as the man that I had become towards her, it wouldn't have been attractive and it probably would have ended in tears because she probably would have not found me attractive anymore.
Interesting.
So now, if you're going to get married, for guys that are going to get married, you have to accept that. Like, you are not going to be attractive to your wife because by doing that ultimate sacrifice, you're giving up that ability to play that game. You know what I mean? That you're kind of like you're here, but you're not. You know what I mean? Like that male, I don't want to commit. I'm not. Once you commit, you can't have it both ways. You have to accept that you have shown your hand, that you are like, now you're in and you're very vulnerable, in that way, because now the woman has control. She can cheat on you. She can do a lot of stuff that will really tear you up, and also combine with divorce courts, I'm not saying that I didn't commit because I didn't want to be in that situation, but I don't I think that the man's role, I like the man's role. I like the role of doing what other guys don't do. Because I'm never going to give in. I'm like a strong man to the end. Like I will never give in on anything. You know what I mean? Like, fundamental shit, I just don't give in. It's kind of like the last video, the fight of your life. It's like, I'm going to be what I am, and I'm not going to allow myself to go down that road. And most guys, they kind of sell their soul, whether it's to their job or to their whatever, or they're guilted into it or whatever. But I won't. And I know that about myself. And I'm willing to pay the price of that. And I think that it gives me a very unique life, because almost every guy, in the end of the day, he tries to have it both ways, but he actually gives in. And, I don't think that's the good thing to do as a man. I think you're better to make a lot of women happy than to make one woman unhappy.
Classic line right there.
That's the thing. Don't that's my take. It's not, that's the heart of my philosophy. So a lot of guys will listen to this channel and they'll listen to MGTOW channels. They won't understand there's a huge difference. Those guys often are very tormented inside, and they're wanting traditional and this and that. I accept what I am, and I know what I am, and there's no label for it. You know what I mean? I don't know what the label is, but the path I've explained here. So the best way to look at it from the outside would be a guy who, whatever, you're going to come up with a bunch of words, but it's that dynamic. I like being grounded as a man and keeping that foundation there. And so, fuck it, right? Fuck it, I think a lot of guys, they think they can have it both ways, but you can't. You do have to make a decision at some point.
Yep. Wow. This has been very good. It made me realize that there's more episodes. we were gonna talk about my situation.
Oh yeah. And also, hey, I gotta talk about the next summit, because this is important. I should have done this at the beginning. So it's 157.23. Okay, so I can put this in the comments. But yeah, so I'm applying right now for a Thai retirement visa again. And so that would take me to Thailand. But I want to have one last summit before I go. One last get together. So the possibilities are, one is Pebble Beach. One of my friends has a house in Pebble Beach. It's a very nice house, a lot of space, a lot of parking, beautiful location. It's up on a hill, looks over the ocean. It's a fucking beautiful place. That's where the famous golf course is. Maybe we can play golf, play around there. It depends on the situation, but there's a lot to see there. It's absolutely beautiful place. It's right there kind of in the heart of Northern California beauty. Where Monterey and Big Sur and all those places, it's right in there. Fucking beautiful place. And, some people, they dream, their bucket list is to drive on that road. So the problem with that place is there's no airport nearby. So the closest airport is like San Jose, and that's like 90 miles. And then there's San Francisco, which is like 2 hours. And then there's some other Monterey. There's a small one nearby. I don't know, maybe people can get flights there, but so far, all the summits have been at places that are really easy to get to. And I feel that's very important. So I'm kind of leaning away from Pebble Beach. But my friend is totally into it. He lives alone. He's got a great house. Like, the living room is all glass ceiling. So it's like perfect for talking. You're out in the beautiful place. You got the glass ceiling, you got the glass all around. It's perfect fucking place. Like it's a killer house. He's got a killer room, he's got like a movie studio room with big speakers, and like it's like a killer. It's like a little movie theater. It's just a great place, and it's a classy place, nice place to be, and he's into it anytime. So I'm thinking in 1 month. So 4 weeks from now is what I'm thinking. So the weekend, so 2 days before now, start on a Friday, or the other option, do that in Pebble Beach, or the option is your house, right, in Austin, Texas. So I'd have to get over to Austin. Austin is a good place. There's a lot to do. Rainy Street rocks. There's always things to do. You've got a killer house, and you've got another place. So there's a couple of options there. So explain those. And what about Austin? What do you think?
Well, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. I mean, I have a 4-bedroom house, and I live with my friend, and there's a good amount of space. We have, 2 guest bedrooms, but then there's also a lot of couch space and whatever. I mean, can fit a good amount of people. And then I have this Airbnb as well, which is rented, usually like Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes Thursday night as well. So people might be able to crash there like Sunday night through like Wednesday or something. But in general, it would be occupied like on the weekend. And yeah, but there's a good amount of people. Like the last summer we had in Austin was at Kenji's place, and he's got a great place as well. So there's different people around here that
we haven't talked to Kenji yet about specifics, but he seemed like he's open. But okay, so you got 2 places, and so basically it's guaranteed we could do it at your house. So that's good. I think the number one thing for a summit is you got to be guaranteed to have a place. You know what I mean? We don't need a fancy place, but it's got to be a place. Now, your Airbnb place, you guys that don't know Austin, it's stunning, okay? It's like right downtown. Fucking we can walk. It's awesome. It's just Austin is a great place. It's kind of like a dream place, right? So with a yard and everything, it's just glass and it's beautiful, 2 stories. The thing is, that wouldn't be on a weekend. So that would be like the first summit that would be like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So they could come in a couple days early, stay at your other place, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday could be the summit, and then back to your other place for a couple days, and then go back, right? So, or Kenji might be into the whole thing, or, whatever else in Austin, right? There's a bunch of guys. So Austin, we could definitely do Austin. So I guess my question is now for people listening is, what do you think? My original plan was to do it in Redondo Beach. My buddy that was in the same, I was in a fraternity in college, and he was in the same fraternity, and he's a TV producer, got a killer place on the beach in Redondo Beach, but he's got child custody things. He's got kids coming over. He can't open that many days up. So he's into it, but he can't open that many days up. And his work is really busy. But it's like the perfect house for the summit. It's too bad. It was the first day of the summit. We went there. Me and Ray and Chime. Was it Chime? Chime? No, Chime wasn't there. Jim. I think Jim was there. No. Who the hell was it? There was somebody else with us. And it was fucking great, man. It was hilarious, dude. His place is great. So it got me thinking about LA, right? I'd love to do an LA summit. It's close by where I am. So if anybody's in LA who has a house, put yourself in the comments, because if we can guarantee to have a place in LA, I think LA would be good, because we've never done an LA summit,
Wow.
And that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty damn cool. I got another friend who's got a place in Newport Beach, and I haven't asked him. He's coming back tomorrow. He's on a little trip, but he's kind of got a girlfriend that's around a lot now. It's a killer place. It's a killer location. He's a great guy. We could definitely pull it off at his place in Newport Beach. So that's a possibility. Newport Beach has LAX close by, and then it also has John Wayne Airport, like fucking really close. So that's a possibility. But basically, I want to make a decision like right away. So in the comment section, tell me if you have a place, like if you got a killer place and that's perfect for a summit in Las Vegas or, someplace like that close by LA, that would be great. Even possibly San Diego could be a good place. Or if you have another idea, if you got a Chime Time said we could do one in New York. He wants to do another one in New York. He's totally into it. He called me the other day and he's like, hey, we should do another one in New York. So that's even a possibility. Go all the way over there. What makes the most sense for everybody? What makes the most sense? New York is probably the best town in America. It's such a great fucking place. Getting around New York, so much to do. The food fucking rocks. And his neighborhood is great. It's all Central American food. $10, $12, get a killer meal. Plus 15 minutes we can be at Ground Zero on the subway. I mean, it's just a fucking girls everywhere. Summertime's coming. Spring's going to be there. Fuck, it would be pretty good. New York could be pretty fucking good. What makes the most sense? What? Just hearing this, what do you think, Sky? What's your take?
I mean, all of them will be great. I have never really. I was in New York once in like the winter time, and only in the city for like a couple days. So I've never really explored that. So that would be great. Also, LA. I feel like LA is a place where it's like all of the problems of like feminism and shit are like they hit the worst in LA. It's just like you have like I feel like such a poor selection of women in general, at least for most guys. That's sort of like even I have friends that are like fucking hot guys, like really top tier guys that like when we were in college and they're just running through chicks like crazy, and they like have dry spells in LA that last for like years, and it's like what the fuck. So I feel like there's got to be a lot of people there that should be down. And Austin, I mean, is my favorite place that I've lived so far. Having lived over in Europe, having lived in San Francisco, and we've got space here at my place, possibly Kenji's place. There's always a lot of outdoorsy stuff to do, like walking around Town Lake and, obviously there's Rainy Street. So people that are into like the pickup scene or whatever, it's pretty much like one of the best spots in America, I think, for that.
Yeah. And it's just
whatever people really want, I think,
Yeah. It's also, Rainy Street is great for everything. Like, when I go to Rainy Street, the food trucks and stuff, I like the vibe down there. I really like cruising around down there. Like even if I don't like try to pick up girls, just sitting there and like seeing all the young people and all the students and eating food there. I'm fucking great, man. I love it.
I'll add this too, like people. Like so I'm in a bit of a legal situation with the whole Airbnb because long story, but the city of Austin was like, was sued and the courts said that they can't restrict short-term rentals, but they're still trying to do it. Anyway, so I've been going over to every single, basically bachelor and bachelorette parties book my house on weekends.
Well,
and so I go over there with a bag of charcoal and I basically tell them, hey, listen, if the city of Austin code people come, just tell them you're my friends. And they're always so cool, like really, really cool groups of guys or girls, or sometimes people that are like staying for work, or like the occasional family will book a week or two. But and those are the people that go out on Rainy Street, so like it's a really, that's very cool.
Right.
And it's also, like, the time to visit Austin is probably around in a month or so. Like right now it's chillier at night, but then in the summer it's like extremely hot. So in April or whatever, you have this sweet spot of there's like the weather is nice. It's warm during the day, but it's also not too cold at night.
Right.
So you can kayak around and whatever.
Okay, I'll say this then. If anybody is, I'm in Orange County. I'm in South Orange County right now. So if anybody wants, Austin is looking like the place. It really looks like the most, overall, Austin is a great place. If anybody wants to drive together, let me know, because I'd love to. I don't want to take a bus out there or flight out there. I'd rather just drive. I love driving. I love checking out the fucking desert. And we never went to this Mexican place. There's a Mexican place about 45 minutes from here that is insane. I swear to God, this place is out of control. And I want to go back, but it's on the road to Austin. So I know where it is, and I want to go back. So if anybody wants to come with me, I got a couple of cool little places we're going to stop. And it's fucking very good, man. So we'll have fun. So anybody wants to drive out to Austin. What's that? What'd you say?
Oh, I'm pissed I missed that Mexican place. But oh well.
Dude, I don't know how we missed it. I'm so bummed. It was like I kind of got it on the way out, so somehow I was thinking of that. I don't know what it was. And then we took off up north. I can't remember why, but dude, it is a bummer actually. I just stumbled on this place too, because I'm a Mexican food aficionado, I've been eating Mexican food at least once a day, I had my carne asada burrito last night, watching the sunset at the pier is fucking awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
LA is good too. If anybody's in LA, like the other possibility, I'll just put this one up, straight up possibility here too, is I'm in South Orange County, right? So if anybody, because I know there's a lot of different guys that come to summits, and there's quite a few guys who are doing quite well. If you want to do a summit at any specific place, like let's say you're willing to shell out for an Airbnb for the group, right? Here in South Orange County, in LA, in Malibu, wherever it is that you think that you want to do it, that's a possibility, because that would change everything. Like a full-on Airbnb where everything's legit, people, we don't want to get kicked out. That's the main thing. Like we want to make sure that we're secure there for the weekend. So, and also we like to be there a couple days early and leave a couple days late. So usually it's about 7 days, 6 nights, right? Maybe it could be 5 nights, 6 days, something like that. But we got to give people a little time to come in. Some people come in early. Some people have to, people's schedules, they might want to, some guys come in, they can't be there for the whole weekend, so they want to be early, kind of hang out with the group. So it's kind of a casual thing in that way. So I like to give people more time to hang out. And I think kind of on the tone of this podcast, this episode, is that being together is where you learn the most. So I really recommend people come for as long as they can. But if you can, just come anyway and meet everybody, hang out for a few days, But if anybody wants to pop up and be the savior and put it in LA or in Orange County, one thing, if it was in Orange County, if it was near here, I'm in San Clemente right now. If it was in this area, what would be cool, like let's say it was in like Laguna. Laguna is a killer place. If it was in Laguna, the good thing about that, or Newport, is that a lot of the stories that I talk about in my past, we can actually go to those places, which I think like adds a different touch to it, right? So
there's a lot of value in that.
That's what I was thinking.
I remember walking around like Southern California with you, and you were like, "Oh, this was the place that I used to bring." Like in high school, we would, steal a car, and then I would take the trip here, and like, oh yeah, I took tons of girls here. Or like, this was the place where we used to go on dirt bikes or whatever, and it's cool. It's like a fucking historical tour.
Right. Because I grew up a long time ago too, so it gives people a historical, even guys who grew up here, if they're younger, there's things that you kind of like, wow, fucking hey, California was a very cool place back then, it really was. I still think California is cool. I think you can make this place work. And I wouldn't mind doing a Southern California one. We did the La Jolla one, but we were in La Jolla the whole time. This one I'm thinking like we could even rent a van. We pitch in on a van, and then we could drive up. We could do something even crazy like, go up to Pebble Beach for a night or something, and go up along the coast and then come back. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's a possibility. There's no traffic, driving on that coast. There's no traffic at all. So we could totally do that.
PCH is beautiful.
Oh, dude, it's so pretty, man. It's that place. Never get tired of it. Never get tired. But Japan is awesome too. So next summer, you guys, I'm gonna take it. I'm taking everybody on the coast. It's gonna be fucking insane. I will say, Japan overall is prettier than California. Believe it or not. Yep,
Wow.
it's so
Wait,
gorgeous.
are you saying this summer or summer
Yeah,
2020?
this summer. I'm waiting
Oh,
for.
fuck.
I'm waiting for Japan's got to open first. You know, but I want to do a summit in Tokyo, and then for the hardcore guys who can hang out, like take like 3 weeks, and then we rent a car, we go all the way down the coast highway along Japan from Tokyo to Osaka, and then come back up to Tokyo and leave from Tokyo. And anybody can come at any time and leave early because public transportation take you anywhere in Japan. We can pick you up at local train stations like no problem, and you can take off anytime you want. So it's kind of cool in that way. Japan's very cool in that way. You can pop up at any small town like no problem, and leave anytime. If you suddenly have an emergency, you can fucking just, you don't need to rent a car. You just fucking, we'll take you to the station. You're gone. So
Boom.
yeah, Japan's going to be, I hope it opens up. That's the only thing. It might not open up in time. But if it does open up, I really want to do, I want to take, I want to take guys like myself along the coast and show them something they've never seen. Even Japanese guys have never seen what I'm going to show them. I'm going to show a trip. I've never met a Japanese guy who's taken this trip. It's a trip that no one does. I kind of discovered it one year when I had some extra time, and it's just fucking great. It's treasure trove. I mean, not to mention like little sweetie pie Japanese girls, fishermen's daughters, fucking just so many massive chunks of sashimi, beautiful beaches, surf, crystal clear water like fucking Hawaii, endless girls in bikinis, fucking sleeping on the beach, fucking barbecues all the time, Japanese food, just fucking Japanese summertime festivals with the girls in their yukatas everywhere. And I don't mean one festival. I mean, like, we'll probably go to 20. They're all over. All the little towns have them. So we'll stop at these little cute festivals, and the girls are super friendly in these small towns. We're just going to fucking absolutely rage for like 3 weeks. So summit, then 3 week trip. That's what I'm thinking. For like, and everybody shares, I'll be the tour guide, just take you guys down there and show you the real Japan. I really hope some Japanese guys come too, because I've taken Japanese guys, not on a trip this long, but I've taken them down little places, and they're always like, wow, I've never seen Japan this way. You know what I mean? Because I see Japan as a Californian, kind of, as a beach guy. So I get a different perspective. And last pitch on Tokyo. The typhoon comes in the summer, every summer. The end of summer, there's a typhoon. Sometimes the waves are so fucking big that you can't see the shore and you can't see the mountains all day. When you're out in the water, all you see is mountains of water coming towards you and mountains going away. That's how big it gets.
Damn.
It gets where you don't see any people. The only time you see the shore is when you go up on top of a wave, you're paddling over and you look back and you see the mountains. It's like it fucking gets huge. And it's like, it's red flag, so they won't let anybody out. But for me, I swim out before the sun comes out. And I'll be out there fucking just taking off and having a great time. It's fucking insane. It only lasts for a couple days. But that I'm hoping we'll get a real typhoon with some massive fucking surf. And that would be awesome too. That'd be something very interesting. If you've never seen like massive surf in Hawaii or whatever, this place, like, fuck, you're just going to be amazed. The power, the sounds, is fucking just like, you take a board out there, it's fucking broken in 3 places, like right away. Fucking waves are just so powerful. It's amazing. It's awesome. If anybody's a really, really solid waterman, I'll take you out there. I'll show you how to maneuver out there. And it's fucking good. It is fucking good.
Dude, oh my gosh. I've been stoked for Japan for so long, especially just everything about it. Like, it's, I really like places. It's kind of like, I just love places that are kind of I don't want to say like untouched by the West.
Oh, dude,
Or
where
by
we're
America.
going is totally untouched. Like, nobody goes to these towns. Nobody. Like, everything will be 100% Japan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I mean, even wow, I'm just thinking like, shoot, this summer already is like getting kind of close. I feel like for planning, at least the early summer, maybe like the later summer. But I mean, hey,
July is the time. July is the month. Like,
July is the month.
yeah, the best time. I mean, if I had ideal, I would say sometime from mid-July to mid-August. That's the sweet spot. That's when all the girls are just fired up. They run away from home. They sleep on the beach, and their little bikinis are so fucking cute. It's like 80 degrees all the time. Everybody's fucking. There's like baths we can go to where it's naked. Everybody's fucking naked. It's free. There's fucking sweet Japanese girls just sitting there with their little fucking boxes. Just so cute. Fucking shy. The face is turning red. It's great. Like, we'll go to places like that too. There's a ton of shit to see. There's a ton of stuff. There's a ton of cool shit. We will definitely have a good time. Definitely. But I hope it opens. I hope it opens. That's all. But that would be, I'd fly from Bangkok to go there. But for the last hurrah here in America, I think the juice is there for this one. So let's pick a place 1 month away, and you can start to plan your week. Like your if you work, you have a job, start planning a month away from now, 4 weeks from this weekend, like today. And let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. I don't care where it is. If somebody wants to Airbnb it, we do it in Austin, we do it in New York, we do it in Pebble Beach, or we do it in an Airbnb. It's all good with me. But we need to decide within the next 2 days. We got to decide. But for you guys that just want to come to anything, wherever it is, start planning a month out. That's it. All right.
Cool. All right. Great talking, man.
Dude, super good. Yeah. Now I got to call that guy in Argentina. So
yeah, sounds good. Good luck with that.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
Thanks for being on, and thanks for fucking pushing this thing. This is good, man. This is good. I can feel good.
This is a great episode, and maybe at some point down the road we do one about the whole situation that I had, since it seems you're down, and maybe the other guys are interested too. But yeah, man.
Yeah, cool. It's one of these emergency situations that guys need to know how to handle it. Yeah, totally.
All right, dude. All right. Sounds great. Well, have a great rest of your day. Peace out.
All right, later. See you.
Bye.
Thanks.